Prepare to be inspired. Today, we're talking about identity and purpose and how fathers can play an essential role in changing the world around them. You're going to hear from a former Marine who's done just that in just a moment, so don't go anywhere. This program is made possible by financial support from Smile Online Course and Books. Smile Online offers online courses for teens and young adults designed to help them master social and career skills. Subject matter includes customer service skills, job interviewing, electronic etiquette, and managing stress. For more information, visit thefatherhoodchallenge.com. That's thefatherhoodchallenge.com.
Welcome to the Fatherhood Challenge, a movement to awaken and inspire fathers everywhere to take great pride in their role and to challenge society to understand how important fathers are to the stability and culture of their family's environment. Now, here's your host, Jonathan Guerrero.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me in this episode called What Are You Born to Do? My guest is Jordan Ames. Jordan is the CEO and founder of Red Letter Leadership. He's a retired Marine with 21 years of active service under his belt. Now he uses his leadership skills with an organization called Red Letter Project and counter human trafficking missions in Eastern Africa. With this distinguished background, he can teach us a thing or two about identity and purpose. Jordan, welcome to the Fatherhood Challenge.
Hey, thanks for having me, Jonathan. It's great to be here.
Jordan, what's your story behind why you joined the Marines and how your Marine career prepared you to start and lead Red Letter Leadership?
I grew up in a household. My dad was a career police officer. He's a retired city police officer now, from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And I've always just had a desire to get into law enforcement. Whenever I was a kid, playing cops and robbers, I really was steered towards the military. And my dad always spoke highly of the Marine Corps. So I kind of got passionate about that. My oldest brother, actually, when I was 12, he joined the Marine Corps. So that got me even more passionate and something I had always wanted to do. So right out of high school in June of 2001, I joined and thought I would do 4 years and get out. And like I said, get into law enforcement. And I think the Lord had other plans. One thing led to another. I ended up staying in and made a career out of being in the infantry and special operations community of the Marine Corps. So it was a great experience. And then kind of answer the second part of that question, how did it prepare me to start and lead Red Letter Leadership? Well, as I was retiring in 2022, I started thinking about, what really am I going to do? I've been in the military ever since I got out of high school. I spent about half my career, 10 years as an enlisted guy. And then I transitioned over to being an officer for the other 11. And I really got passionate about leadership development. And I thought God gave me a lot of experiences, a lot of growth as a leader. I am a student, always a student of leadership. And I just felt led to develop really a Christ-centered approach to leadership development. I've always told the guys I led that I'm a Christian and that my faith drives me to seek the leadership of Christ above all else. And if I'm learning another aspect of leadership and it doesn't back up to what Jesus, what his example and his words say, well, then to me, it's not worth practicing. So the whole Red Letter Leadership term, just kind of God downloaded that to me one day. And then he kind of told me, hey, start there. Start in the red letters and start adding value to people through the words and examples he shows us in the red letters.
Well, you kind of read my mind there because my curiosity went to the title, the red letter. Why red letter? Why did you call it that? So you're referring to the red letters in the Bible that whenever you see red letters in Scripture, it indicates that those are the exact words of Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. So those, some Bibles have it, some Bibles don't. But there's a lot of, there's some other organizations out there with red letter in the name. There's songs I've heard with red letters in the name. But yeah, it refers to the words of Jesus.
Now, there's Red Letter Leadership, and then there's also Red Letter Project. Would you clarify the difference between the two? And also tell me about Red Letter Project. We didn't really talk about that yet. What does it do? And how did you step into that calling?
So Red Letter Leadership I registered it as a for-profit LLC a couple years ago. And that is the leadership coaching consulting company that I've started. Still working at growing it. But throughout the time that I've retired a couple of years ago, I met a gentleman who was working in the counter human trafficking space. His organization, and he lived local here to central Pennsylvania, and he was working internationally and also trying to get some domestic initiatives started to counter human trafficking. One of the projects that he started was in Uganda, and he asked me to that way he could kind of focus on other initiatives. He asked me to manage that project. So it was volunteer work, a couple hours a week, staying connected with the team, the local national Ugandan team we have in Uganda. And I started that a little over a year and a half ago. Well, that was the only thing going for his organization. And so they decided to dissolve. But I wanted to make sure that the mission I was managing as it started to take off, and really the director over there and the team on the ground has been doing a phenomenal job. It was taken off, and I wanted to make sure that it could sustain long term, long after this initial organization that was running it had dissolved. So I agreed to take it on and kind of just figure it out. I knew I needed some help, so I looked for a fundraising consultant to help me in that department. I ended up hiring one the beginning of May, and along with meeting him and getting to work with him, along with some other connections we've made, we decided that to really address the problem of human trafficking anywhere in the world, but specifically over there, since that's where we're focused, is to take a step back and address it holistically. So we needed to have a more collaborative effort with governments, with non-governments, with other organizations that are doing counter human trafficking work in the region, across borders, because traffickers, they don't pay attention to borders. So you have to be able to operate as they do and be several steps ahead of them, to the point to where they are no longer incentivized to do their evil work. And so that is what we're working on right now. And so Red Letter Project has been the rebrand of what I've been working on for the past year and a half. That is the brand that we just launched the past 2 months, and we've kicked off our first fundraising campaign doing that. So the Red Letter Project, of course, I kind of just came up with that off of my business name, but they are separate entities. Our landing page, as of now, falls under my business website, but when you donate, you're donating to an organization called Tying Vines, which has many other projects. They're a faith-based organization. They support faith-based ministries in different parts of the world that are, religiously sensitive, politically sensitive, maybe even hostile areas, to where the people on the ground doing the work can't just be wide open on what they're doing. So back in the States, you can donate to them specifically to a specific project, and then that way those ministries can be funded.
When the victims are rescued, that's not the end of the story. They're rescued, and then what?
It's really broken down. The process is really broken down into 3 phases. The first phase is the rescue. That entails, sometimes it's the police rescuing and then turning the victims over to us to take to phase 2. Sometimes it's our foot patrol that are doing the rescues or interdictions before a victim actually enters a trafficking situation. Maybe they were enticed by somebody for a job that doesn't exist, or it could be a job that exists, but they think it's better than what they're being told it's better than what it actually is. It ends up being they're abused, identity is taken from them, so they can't really escape type of situation. They're not paid well, if at all. And so that's what we're trying to rescue them from, as well as in parts of East Africa. There's witch doctors, which is just a very grotesque form of human trafficking. It's where they kidnap young kids, individuals, for purposes of human sacrifice, or hold them for ransom, or organ harvesting, that type of thing. Rescue is phase 1. Once we rescue, then we offer the opportunity to get them into vocational training, because the situation is so bad in parts of East Africa due to poverty. And so we want to have an answer to that poverty. We want to be able to these victims be able to make a honest living in their home country. So we get them into vocational training, teaching them trades such as hairdressing, tailoring. A lot of the young men like to get into mechanics or woodworking. And then from there, phase three is just helping them once they graduate those programs, helping them either land a job, like for instance, a mechanic landing a job with a garage, or a hairdresser or tailoring. They pretty much have to start their own practice, kind of start their own business. And so we help them in that initial steps to get going.
A lot of times people go into what some call a wilderness experience where they're being prepared and they're learning unique truths and skills to prepare them. They learn about who they are in that wilderness experience. And at some point, they learn their purpose. When you were in the Marines, could you ever have imagined that you would be involved with something so great as Red Letter Project?
No, I really haven't. It's interesting though when I think about my own purpose. That was a big question whenever I'm retiring. My purpose had been serving my country, countering evil in different parts of the world on behalf of my country. But now I'm hanging up the uniform. That's still a admirable purpose. It still needs to be addressed. There's still evil, and Satan is in tons of situations. And I'm trying to think of, what is my purpose? And the whole counter human trafficking thing is not something I ever really pursued. A gentleman spoke at my church, and I started talking to him, thinking, I've always been passionate about helping and serving the marginalized and the least of these in our communities. My wife and I, in 2011, after trying to have children for a couple of years, we decided to adopt, and we adopted four out of the Pennsylvania foster care system. It was about 2.5 years later. We knew we could handle a couple more, and we decided to adopt two from Ethiopia. Lord had more plans as we were done. He decided that he would open my wife's womb after she was obedient to donating part of her liver, because the liver, we learned, kind of regenerates itself, and in that process kind of reset her body, and she became pregnant. So our seventh child is a little girl, a biological child to us. And so the Lord filled our family, just based on our willingness to be obedient to Him. And then never did I think that through that experience, through just being obedient to serve the marginalized, would He place me in East Africa, and trying to lead an organization that is doing incredible work on the ground there.
There's a saying that Marines never have to wake up in the morning and wonder if they're making a difference or if they've made a difference, that they don't have that problem.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was Ronald
and
Reagan, I
so
think, said that.
so here on the other side of it, you still don't have that problem. That is a huge accomplishment, your connection to the work that you're doing in East Africa. But I want to back up a little bit. You just talked about the children that you've adopted. You have biological children. So, are you trying to say that being a father is also part of your purpose? Because there's some dads out there that wake up in the morning and really don't think that fatherhood really is that big of a deal, that it's not up there with, let's say, being president of the United States or that kind of accomplishment, that it just doesn't, it's not on the same level. So, are you saying that fatherhood also is part of God's purpose?
Oh, 100%. Obviously, it's second to our relationship with God. Every single one of us has a biological father. The reason why there are children out there that need to be adopted is because of a sinful world. Their father has either failed them, or maybe something terrible has happened to him and they are now orphaned. So, in either case, it's because of some sort of lack of a father that children need adopted. It's because of a lack of a father, that or a father's role, that children are being sold into slavery of some sort. My main definition of success is if all of my kids are developing leaders and understand their role as leaders within Christ, within the relationship they have with Christ, and that type of leadership that they can have day in and day out. If I'm trying to develop clients and coach clients, but yet I'm not doing that in my own family, I'm not serving truly the purpose that God has laid out for me. And I think that that's a lie from Satan, that fatherhood is somehow, not as important or something like that. Satan uses very subtle ways to get in our minds. And in America, especially, there's so many ways to outsource your father. Take your kids to this, get them involved in this, do that. Even at the church, there's tons of things at the church. Or even if you send your kids to a private Christian school, that's wonderful. But education is still the parent's responsibility. And if you're not reinforcing, honestly, the church and the school should be reinforcing things you're doing as a father, not the other way around. Yeah, fatherhood's the number one thing. As a father, you are, until your child truly understands that there is a heavenly Father, that there is a God, you are the example of what our Heavenly Father should be. So, based on that example, they're going to view their Heavenly Father.
Is it a bit of a stretch to suggest that the Red Letter Project has to exist because there is a fatherhood failure in the world?
Oh, not at all. Arguably, it's because of men in society who have not led, who have led poorly. All the way from, politicians down to just individual fathers. And nothing's going to change if fathers aren't standing up to change it. If fathers aren't partnering with other fathers. And it needs to be a team effort. You're just one father standing up in their community thinking they're going to be a loud mouth and say all the right things and have passion for Jesus. It's not going to work. You need to partner with other fathers who are like-minded. You need to partner with other fathers who value, who have the same values and beliefs you do. You need to be tied in with other fathers that are also pursuing that relationship with Christ and can hold each other accountable. I know there's a lot of great people that are better Christians than myself. For instance, I talked to one executive director of an organization. He primarily goes after witch doctors, rescues kids from witch doctors, and he works with police to get these guys arrested and put in jail. But he even said to me, I was meeting him face to face about 6 months ago. He said to me, and he's Ugandan. He's from Uganda, raised Uganda. I met him here in the United States. He said to me, but for the grace of God, I could be a witch doctor. And that's a guy that really has his understanding of who he is as a sinful human and who God is. And he recognizes the purpose and identity God has given him. And he recognizes it as God-given. And with that perspective, he's been able to go into these jails where the witch doctors, the ones that that his efforts have led to their arrest, and he's been able to minister to them, and some of them have accepted Christ and have become his informants. To me, that's a whole other level of redemption that I think we don't see much in America.
Why is knowing Jesus essential to your success as a leader? And why is Jesus essential to dads that are listening now?
We're born and we die. What we do with Jesus is the number one thing between those two dates on our tombstone, right? But then it's not just about the fire insurance, right? That's a great thing, to have a relationship with Christ. But what are we doing with it? If we truly are passionate about that relationship, if we truly believe he is who he says he is, then we should be passionate about passing that on to our children and our children's children, and encouraging our children to have the same passion to follow him. And as far as Jesus specifically as a leader, there is no greater leader. I have yet to read about him.
How did understanding your God-given identity and purpose prepare you to mentor leaders and accomplish great things with your life? And why is it essential for dads to know their identity and purpose too?
It is our responsibility to know our identity and purpose. And I don't think it's hard to. I think it's very easy in this world, especially with social media, to compare ourselves to, the Joneses next door, so to speak. Compare ourselves with somebody else, covet something else. But when we do that, we forget about the identity Christ has given us. I've heard the saying before, be yourself, everybody else is taken. And that is so powerful because we need to remember like God made us exactly who we are. He didn't make an accident for a specific purpose. I love two specific scriptures that have been on my mind throughout the past year. One is the parable of the talents, and the other one is it's found in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, but it's the scripture where Jesus is saying, if a man is to follow me, he must deny himself. And if we really just think about that, we have two parts to who we are. We're made in God's image, and we have our sinful nature, which is self. If we are putting self forward, it's like we're covering up God's image on us. But when we deny self and we're focused on promoting his image on us, our potential is unlimited. And we truly see our identity because Christ shows it to us. But when we're focused on ourself, it's like we're not allowing him to empower us in the purpose he's given us. In the parable of the talents, he has given each of us certain gifts, abilities, of course, financial resources. And that whole message is, what are we doing with it? He expects us to multiply it. All of our purpose is to multiply the gifts that he has given us. And when we don't, he calls in the parable, he calls the one who didn't do anything with their gifts wicked. And that really struck home to me because, we're focused on like financial, stewardship, being conservative with things. But it's like when you start looking at all the resources in the world belong to him, not just the tithe I give to my church. No, all of it belongs to him. He's only asking for 10% back, right? So you kind of look at it from that perspective. You're like, well, what am I really doing to multiply what he's given me for his kingdom? And so to me, purpose and identity tie right into that. Whenever I accept what he wants to do in my life and I stop trying to compare myself to what others have, the potential that he can do is just unlimited. He is infinite, which means when we put him forward, our potential is infinite.
There's a dark, evil war between Satan and Jesus, and the battle crosses between the spirit realm and our physical realm. Knowing this, there's a war fought on both sides for each dad's identity and purpose. Where have you seen this play out the most, and how should dads respond?
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was saying earlier with Satan just working in very subtle ways to drag fathers away from their families. Whether it be just the busyness and all the white noise that's around us, all the opportunities to outsource your fathering. It's very important for dads to just be intentional day in and day out with being present, with being connected to their children. I used to, I was gone a whole lot. In the span of 8 years, I was probably gone close to 3.5, 4 years, just from deployments to training to, and my wife was running the household. And I used to think that, oh, well, when I'm home, I'll make sure I spend quality time with them. And I did. I was very, my wife created a home environment where I could just come home and invest in the kids. And it was great. But when I look back, I think I was too focused on quality time and not time, because at the young ages, time with your children is quality time. You may not think of it as an adult, but just getting down and playing Barbies for 10 minutes is incredible quality time. Drawing with your young child is incredible quality time. You can't go wrong with doing whatever it is they're asking you to do, whenever they're older, they're going to be the ones that probably don't want to spend as much time because they got friends here, friends there. So then, when you think of quality time, you might have to be more intentional about, hey, no, you're not going to hang out with that friend because we're gonna do something as a family. We're gonna do this or that as a family. But whenever they're younger, every single bit of time you have with them is quality time, and it's certainly a lie from Satan to think that you can skip out on things and make it up years later.
How can dads learn more about what you're doing and support your organization?
The landing page for Red Letter Project, we just launched. We're trying to get 1,000 donors to be willing to give at $25 a month. That'll help us sustain the current operations we have going. That'll help us with capital to really grow a foundation for the organization as we do trips to Uganda like they're doing next week. As we try to take the time to have meetings and connect with different government and non-government entities here in the States as well as over in East Africa. And it'll allow us to build a bank reserve back up. That would be huge. That $25 a month truly is huge. Some people think, oh, it's not it would make an incredible difference. So, and our landing page is www.redletterleadership.com/RLP. The donation information is there. If you choose to donate, you'll be donating to an organization called Tying Vines, which is the 501c3 we fall under. And then our project is project number 1910. But that would be the best way right now any of your listeners could support that project. We'd be very grateful.
And just to make things easier, if you go to thefatherhoodchallenge.com, that's thefatherhoodchallenge.com. If you go to this episode, look right below the episode description, and you're looking for the episode that's entitled, What Are You Born to Do? What Are You Born to Do? Look for that title. Look below the episode description. I will have the links that Jordan mentioned posted right there for your convenience. Jordan, as we close, what is your challenge to dads feeling stuck, lost, or just needing some motivation?
This may sound bad, but I almost think some dads are trying too hard. They constantly are seeking some community on Facebook, which is great. Like I said before, iron sharpens iron. We need community. Now, I'm a very reserved individual. So I'm a kind of guy, I have a couple really good friends. I'm good. I don't need to be in some big social gathering. Some people are wired a little differently. But I think if I could challenge your dads out there, if you're stuck, it could be because you're just consumed by the white noise that is the American society. There's so much out there, whether it's sports, whether it's, news, social media, all the things that have happened around the world in the past several years. I hear people coming out to me, especially with my experience in the military. They want to ask me, what about this? What do you think the United States should do here? And we want to talk all these politics. I'm just like, I'm not really paying attention to some of that stuff. I am retired now. I want to spend more time with my family. I'm not really concerned with, who we're launching the rocket to. And so I just say all that as dads out there, just focus on the time. Focus on time with your children. There's plenty of times that I look back that I wish I would have spent more time with them, and you can't get that back. So focus on time, be present, and be intentional.
Jordan, I promised my audience at the very beginning that you would teach us a thing or two about identity and purpose. And you definitely delivered on that, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the program.
Thank you, Jonathan. It's been a great opportunity for me, and I really appreciate you taking time, and I appreciate your listeners.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fatherhood Challenge. If you would like to contact us, listen to other episodes, find any resource mentioned in this program, or find out more information about the Fatherhood Challenge, please visit thefatherhoodchallenge.com. That's thefatherhoodchallenge.com.